Hey guys, it's Jason with That Hortus, and today we're going to be going on with part 2 of the Protea seeds that we are starting. We have here Protea compacta that I am going to be unpackaging. So do refer to the last video that talked about pre-treatments and soaking. That's going to be very important about talking about how to prep them and everything before we even go into sowing. So I'm going to go ahead and open my bag here, and I like using these trays because it keeps everything nice and tidy, and you can always use them again for other projects. So I'll leave that there. A couple other supplies that you're going to need. So here I have some very fine sand. I call it silver sand. At least that's what it's sold as. It goes by a bunch of other names, but it's just a really fine type of sand. And what I have in front of me here, this is a standard growing flat. And what I've done is I've lined it with, some paper. You can use other more reusable materials, but if you don't have them, that's fine. And the mix that I'm using inside the tray itself is going to be following the Fine Bush People recipe. So it's going to be 2 parts peat, 2 parts sand, 1 part perlite, and then the last part, it varies from people to people, but at least in my alteration of that recipe, I use the fungicide called Infuse. It's a systemic. So it's actually the same product that I was using to soak the seeds earlier in the other video. However, in this application, I'm using the granular type to have it in the soil so that it helps protect them, especially during the early stages. So what I'm going to go ahead and do next is, and actually before we move forward, very important to label your seeds. If you don't label them, you're not going to find out until they finally sprout. But yes, Post-its, Sharpie. If you have a white Sharpie, even better, because you can write on these. I actually just didn't know where mine is right now, so I'll eventually do that. But for right now, I just have a Post-it on the side here that just says compacta, and that'll help me ID this when I need to. But I'm going to go ahead and move forward here. So the way that I order my seeds is that I order them in batches of 100. And the reason why I order them in batches of 100 is because that allows me to really neatly plant them on this tray here. So I'm going to go ahead and gather all the seed up. Perfect. And it still smells really smoky and stuff, similar to if you're using the Cape seeds or the Cape seed primer. So if you're smelling that, you're in good shape. There we are. So that's what a handful of Protea seeds looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and start laying them down in a 10 by 10 grid. And so we're going to cut out, but we'll be right back and I'll show you what I'll do after I put the seeds down. Alrighty guys, so we're back. We just went ahead and sowed the 10 by 10 grid, so it's 100 seed. Little did we know that Silver Hill Seeds was super generous this time around. And there's like another 54 seeds here in this bin that weren't on part of this flat here. So thank you so much to the Silver Hill team for the extra seed. We really appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and just take care of this and actually the other sets of seed behind the scenes and get that done. Because there's if it's based on my calculations here, it's like a 1,500 seed lot. So it's going to be quite a bit of work. But just talking about what we have in front of us here. So I have the 10 by 10 grid sowed. And what I have here is the sand. And what I will typically do is I'm going to go ahead and grab a handful and just start putting some on top. And I start light at first is because I want to get some coverage. Helps me see where the seed are. But then at the same time, make sure that anything that is a little loose sits more steadily on the flat. And this is why we're not filling the flat up to the very top. I mean, you absolutely could. It's just when you need to come around to water later, it's going to be a little tricky. Okay, so I've gone ahead and put that thin layer. So now I'm going to come around and lay it a lot thicker. And the goal is that I want to hide the seed under the sand. So you can see one side of the flat has them very exposed, the other side not so much. Okay, there we go. And this is why that when you're pressing your seed into the flat, you're pressing it just enough for it to go level. You don't need it to be too high or actually too low at all. That's actually going to be very bad for you later. But by putting the cap of sand, that gives it something that is very easy for it to push through. But then at the same time, it's going to keep the seed nice and cozy in the soil. And let's see, there we go. You don't want to be going like this with your hands, so just kind of sprinkle it, eyeball it, make sure everything's covered for the most part. Don't cap it up super thick. But yeah, so I've gone ahead and covered it there. And that is the start of it. So once I've done this, I'm gonna go ahead and take it out and give it a nice thorough watering. Luckily for us, we have some nice gentle rains happening for the next couple of days. So, we're gonna give this a water and rinse and repeat, 15 to 20 more times. And that's how we get those seeds started. But yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. But yeah, this is how we get the seeds sown in, and I'll see you guys in the next video.